Come on, Maisie.
Hop in. Let's head down to Ty's Drive-In Movie Memories.
Well, hot damn.
In association with the Right Eye Productions broadcast.
Don't you hear good?
I hear perfectly.
Can you hear me, boy?
Hey, you big piece of turkey dump! Get that mess the hell out of there!
Ty at Night.
Do the letters F-O mean anything to you?
I'm gonna barbecue your ass, you molasses!
You don't know the power of the dark side.
I am your father.
This is outrageous.
I got a bad feeling about this.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
TyAtNight.com.
Would you just happen to be listening out there?
This is where the fun begins.
Star Wars. Yeah, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and of course, Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca. 1977, an American space opera film written and directed by George Lucas. Come on, one of the greats. Distributed by 20th Century Fox, Star Wars was the first film released in the Star Wars film series, again in 1977. My very first film that I ever saw on the big screen. Yeah, my dad took us there into a drive-in theater movie. We were in his old red-colored Volkswagen Beetle where the engine was actually in the back. But that didn't matter. They hooked the speaker box to the window of the car. I was 7 years old, and boy, do I remember it like it was yesterday. How about that? Mark Hamill played Luke Skywalker. Harrison Ford, as aforementioned, played Han Solo, often regarded as one of the greatest and most influential films ever made. You see, the film became a pop cultural phenomenon, launching an industry of tie-in products, including novelties, novels, and how about the comics? Oh my gosh. Come on. Games and even amusement park attractions. Who would have thought? By the way, it became one of the first 25 films selected by the United States Library of Congress for preservation in the National Film Registry, dating back to 1989.
Ty at Night.
A couple of quick fun facts about Star Wars. When it came to the soundtrack, Lucas initially planned to use pre-existing music for Star Wars, ultimately hiring John Williams as a music consultant. However, over time, Lucas realized he needed to use Williams in a bigger role for the movie Star Wars. The main title theme was originally inspired by the theme from the 1942 film King's Row. And as post-production went on, it was clear that over a period of 12 days, March 1977, John Williams, along with the London Symphony Orchestra, recorded the infamous Star Wars score. That original soundtrack was actually released as a double LP in 1977 by 20th Century Fox Records.
This is Ty at Night.
Another fun fact is 3 foot 8 inch high Kenny Baker played the original R2-D2 in the first 3 of the Star Wars series. Kenny Baker was crammed into the shell or body shape of R2-D2 until the involvement of robotic and CGI effects took place later on. 7 foot 3 inch tall Canadian actor Peter Mayhew, as aforementioned, took on the role of Chewbacca, noting that Peter Mayhew would often visit local zoos to watch the characteristics of various zoo animals, their demeanor, and sounds to create what has become the on-screen version of Chewbacca. Alec Guinness played the original version of Obi-Wan Kenobi and was the highest paid actor on set, and Anthony Daniels took on the role of C-3PO. Now, when it comes to dollars and cents of Star Wars, it remains one of the most financially successful films of all time, earning $2.5 million in its first 6 days. That according to Wikipedia and Varieties Weekly. It was also number 1 at the U.S. box office for its first 3 weeks. James Earl Jones was the original voice of Darth Vader. It should be noted that in addition to a one-and-done salary for many of the actors in this film, they must have known this was going to be a hit, as several actors included within their contracts placed clause stating that they would receive royalties ranging from 1/4 to 2.5% of the overall sales forever. And on a side note, Steven Spielberg put out a movie called Close Encounters of the Third Kind about the same time. They each had a gentleman's handshake, wondering which film would outperform the other at the box office. According to Wikipedia, it is said that Lucas proposed to Spielberg that they trade 2.5% of the profit of each other's films for life. They glad-handed the deal, and Spielberg accepted, believing that Lucas's film would be the biggest hit of all. Fast forward to 2024, Spielberg still receives 2.5% of the profits from Star Wars today.
High at night.
So, what do you get when you take an excited pack of Cub Scouts on their first camping trip, an outdoor drive-in theater, and a pair of larger-than-life Hooters that normally won't be found hanging out at the local zoo? Well, you get Miss Nude America. Trust me, nobody remembers who the hell was in this movie, but rather what was in this movie. They, the proverbial stars that filled the screen. To a bunch of tongue-wagging campsite kids lined up along a chain-link fence, peeking in and out of the headlights of the busy highway evening traffic that separated the campsite and the outdoor theater screen. Well, the reality is, us kids were fixed on the best of headlights America at that time had to offer. Honk, honk. Yes, Miss Nude America was in fact the second drive-in movie I've ever seen at about 8 years old, and although us inspired scouts learned a lot about camping, the outdoors, arts and crafts, that weekend we also left understanding a new form and version of whittling wood.
This is Tie at Night.
I gotta barbecue your ass in molasses!
Yeah, baby. And finally, the third drive-in movie that I've ever seen in my time was the original Smokey and the Bandit.
You son of a bitch. Don't you cuss on this here radio. I apologize to all the friendly folk who are listening.
Smokey and the Bandit, a 1977 classic, second only to Star Wars the very same year. Burt Reynolds stars as Bo the Bandit Darville. Sally Field stars as Carrie, also known as Frog. Jerry Reed plays Cletus, the Snowman Snow. And the great Jackie Gleason plays Sheriff Buford T. Justice. Couple of quick fun facts about Smokey and the Bandit. There were 4 Pontiac Firebird Trans Ams used in the filming of that movie, 3 of which were totaled completely due to the various on-screen stunts, and reportedly ran the 4th Trans Am to the point that it would not even start on the final few scenes. They actually had to use a push cart to push that Trans Am into the last few scenes. And speaking of Trans Ams, although reported that all 4 Trans Ams were totaled in the making of the original film, there was one final Trans Am that was still connected to Burt Reynolds himself. You see, Pontiac gifted a custom Trans Am direct to Burt Reynolds, thanking him for all of his on-screen efforts and helping to send sales of the Pontiac Firebird Trans Am soaring to new heights. That Trans Am, however, was never used on screen and was auctioned in 2014 to Gene Kennedy, a Tampa resident and owner of Bandit movie cars. The auction price was $450,000. He refurbished it back to the original Smokey and the Bandit status and has since taken it all over the country to various car shows and events. Another couple of quick fun facts. Jackie Gleason gets credit for bringing in Mike Henry, also known as Junior Justice, to be able to bounce some comedic lines off of. And speaking of comedic lines, it is also reported, according to Entertainment TV and other online sources, Jackie Gleason rarely ever used the original script. In fact, he preferred to ad-lib most all of his on-screen lines, making his role that much more memorable. Something else about Gleason is that it was no secret that he enjoyed life by way of tipping opening up the bottle. During an interview with Burt Reynolds, Reynolds finally recalls how Gleason and his on-set personal assistant had special code where they would communicate to each other in between filming takes. When Gleason looked over at his assistant requesting a, quote, hamburger, end quote, he wasn't talking about a flame-grilled, juicy burger with melted cheese piled high with veggies on the side. When Gleason mentioned that he wanted a hamburger, that was really code meant for bring me a bourbon.
Tie at Night.
Break a one. This is the bandit. It's a snowman out there. Am I hitting you, son? Mercy sakes, you put about 8.5 on me. Blowing the windows down. Bring it on.
So when it comes to Jerry Reed Hubbard, professionally known as Jerry Reed, he not only lends his acting ability to this project, but also his singing voice and songwriting skills. That's right, Jerry Reed sung on at least 4 of the original soundtrack songs and co-wrote some of those as well, including the theme song, Eastbound and Down. And of course, we cannot forget Fred, that 4-legged ride-along companion to Snowman. According to writer and director Hal Needham, 432 dogs applied for the role of Fred, to which Needham narrowed the contestants down to 10 finalists. Burt Reynolds was the judge tasked with choosing from the final lineup, and Reynolds ended up selecting 2-year-old Basset Hound named Happy. He was chosen for his looks, he was inquisitive, and he never followed command.
Fred, I'm so damn tired of picking you up. I got to. Fred! Come here, Fred. Come here, boy. Come on. Fred, don't you make me come after you. Get over here, Fred. Come here. I'm in a hurry and you want to take a swim. You drive me crazy, Fred. You just drive me crazy. Get up here.
So, as we near the end of this trip down memory lane and a visit to the first 3 drive-in movies I've experienced more than some 45 years ago, I think no matter the path life leads us down or the obstacles we may face, keep looking ahead to tomorrow while making memories along the way. Until next time, take care.
This has been another edition of Tie at Night.
In association with the Right Eye Productions broadcast.